Big Brother 7 All-Stars was the first season to introduce the concept of a secret power in Big Brother, and since then, numerous different crazy, shocking, and downright game-breaking secret powers have been introduced into the game. While the history of these secret powers is vast, what's more intriguing to me is what the players who earn these powers choose to do with this information. By design, most secret powers present the player with two options: tell or don't tell. The overarching umbrella term secret power would lead most people to believe that keeping the power's whereabouts a secret would be the optimal choice. However, is that actually the case? In a game where information is one of the most valuable forms of currency and knowledge about secret powers is often perceived as the jackpot of information, are there legitimate benefits to leaking this information? In actuality, there isn't really a correct decision in regards to how to handle this information, and it's this gray area of deciding what to do that makes these secret powers so fascinating. That's why in this video, I wanted to delve deeper into the potential upsides and downsides of how to handle the knowledge of secret powers, ranging from the different positions a player could be in to the ramifications of their choices. So with all of that preamble out of the way, it is the one and only RJ21 here, and let's talk about the complexities of secret powers in Big Brother.
The power of what? Coup d'etat?
Coup d'etat.
Okay, let me start over.
For this first portion of the video, let's assume the position that we are the player who won the secret power and nobody knows that we won it. I understand and recognize that there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of extraneous variables that could compromise the true confidentiality of someone's secret power, such as a player's actions making them look suspicious, or other house guests simply making assumptions, but for the sake of simplicity, let's remove these variables, at least initially. So we just won a secret power. Now the two most extreme choices we can make are telling everybody about our power or telling absolutely nobody about our power. Let's look at the pros and cons of each extreme decision. If we tell everybody about the power, the pros of this choice are that it demonstrates trust and transparency. The fact that you are willing to essentially expose yourself to the entire house makes you appear like a team player and a possible palatable ally. Your actions are demonstrating to the house that you are open and honest, nearly to a fault, and that makes you appear like a more loyal player, which could benefit you later on in the game. However, the cons of this choice are that it puts a massive target on your back. Even if you tell everyone about the power, you still have a power at the end of the day, and that makes you a more threatening player than everyone else by default. So to combat this and put you on the same playing field as everyone else, other players might corner you into a position where you are forced to play your power, stripping you of the singular, definitive advantage you had over everyone else. In addition, the other house guests will try to use you as a weapon against their opposition, and if you choose to not follow their specific plans, you now look untrustworthy to them, defeating the whole purpose of telling everyone about the power in the first place.
I mean, not how I expected that to go.
On the other hand, if we tell absolutely nobody about the power, the pros of this choice are that, well, nobody knows about the power. The fact that you can now operate in complete anonymity gives you an immense advantage over everyone else. You no longer have to worry about the information leaking or trying to plan out how to use the power in a way that appeases your allies and maintains trust with them. You can use your power however you please, and nobody can directly influence or attempt to control you. It also creates a lot of paranoia amongst the other players. Instead of everyone having their eyes on you, everyone has their eyes on each other, taking a lot more weight off of your shoulders. Finally, it just looks great on your resume, as nobody can try to undermine the power and claim they influence you, as you are in sole control of said power. However, the cons of this choice are the fallout. If you use the power and are forced to identify yourself, it creates a lot of mistrust between you and the rest of the house. Nearly everyone is going to have the same thought process. I didn't know you had a power. Why didn't you tell me about your power? It must be because you don't trust me, and now I can't trust you moving forward. You also don't have the ability to strategize with anyone else about how to use the power most effectively. Most players aren't able to identify the most optimal strategic decisions without information or input from other players, and the fact that you are now no longer privy to any help or assistance makes it even harder to make the best decision.
This whole week I've been very focused on making sure no one suspects me, and I've never even thought about if someone is suspecting Bailey.
In short, it appears that telling everyone about your power creates more stress in the present moment, while telling nobody about your power creates more stress in the future. Based on the arguments presented, it would appear that keeping the power a secret would be the ideal choice, considering the fact that you don't necessarily have to take into account the human error that telling other house guests would introduce into the equation. However, this is Big Brother, and no game decision is ever as black or white as it may appear. I presented the two choices as the most extreme options because what a player chooses to do is more of a spectrum or a sliding scale. A player could tell only 1 or 2 people about their power, leaning more towards the tell nobody side of the scale, while another player could tell their entire 8-person alliance about their power, leaning more towards the tell everybody side of the scale. Rarely does a house guest ever fall into one of the two extremes, and instead chooses to land somewhere in the middle. However, this presents yet another question. Why would you only tell a select few people about your power? I know this sounds like a silly question, and on paper it would appear that way, but there is actually more nuance to this answer than one may think. While there are a myriad of different reasons a house guest would tell another player about their power, the two main and most logical reasons are to build trust and to save themselves or their allies. Telling another player to build trust is typically the first option house guests choose when first earning or winning a secret power. Telling specific people about your power is a sign of trust as you are letting them in on confidential information that they were not obligated to learn about. So, by telling the other person about having the secret power, it is a gesture to them that you trust them, hopefully solidifying a very strong ally for the future. It's the same thing as players who hide certain aspects of their personal life and then reveal it later on.
I want to tell Tyler about my superpower because I like Tyler and I feel like he and I can work together.
On the other hand, telling another player to save themselves or their allies is an act of preservation. House guests typically choose this option when they believe they are backed into a corner and have no other plausible way out. Revealing information about having a secret power is a last-ditch effort and is like using a get-out-of-jail-free card. In this preservative setting, a player can threaten more passive players and deter them from targeting them. The divulging of information serves as an indirect threat to the other player, implying something along the lines of, if I use my power, it is going to put your game in jeopardy, so unless you want to face those consequences, I suggest you target someone else. There is a possibility that the other player is unfazed by this information and will continue to target them, but the small sliver of hope that this information presents is enough for a player to reveal it. A great example of this is Alyssa's MVP power in Big Brother 15. It was during week 2 where Aaron won HOH and was targeting Alyssa. However, Alyssa won the MVP power, which allowed her to name a third nominee and a replacement nominee if her initial nominee were to be vetoed. Nick, a current power player in the house's dynamics, was chosen to play for the power of veto, and Alyssa attempted to leverage a 2-week protection plan to Nick in exchange for him throwing the veto to try and keep herself safe. Unfortunately, Nick was unresponsive to these deals, causing Alyssa to outright tell Nick that if he doesn't accept her deal and Jeremy, Alyssa's current MVP nominee, wins the power of veto, she would name Nick as the replacement nominee. This forced Nick into a situation where he either concedes to Alyssa's demands and throws the veto, or takes a huge gamble and rejects Alyssa's deal, knowing how much it could blow up in his face. Ultimately, Nick chose the latter option and was promptly evicted later on in the week. Despite Nick not conceding, Alyssa demonstrated how information about a secret power could be effectively used to threaten another player.
You either throw it or you try to win it and you don't use the veto. If not, I'm gonna put you up as a replacement.
I'm gonna tell Alyssa whatever she wants to hear, but I'm still gonna bust my butt in this veto competition.
By a vote of 7-4, Nick, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Another way a player could preserve themselves is encapsulating more greedy players with the added incentive of possibly using this power to their advantage. The divulging of information in this manner serves as a sort of peace treaty, not exactly building trust for the long term, but more so a short-term truce for the present moment. This usually comes with a deal or promise, such as, I promise to use this power to help you in the future if you save me right now. Just like the indirect threat, there is still the possibility that the other player could simply not care about this information, but it's the hope that matters. A great example of this is Christy's panic power in Big Brother 21. It was during week 4 where Cliff won HOH and was targeting her alliance members in Jack and Mickey. However, Christy won the panic power the prior week, which allowed her to upgrade any of the next 4 vetoes from a golden power of veto to a diamond power of veto, allowing the veto holder to name the replacement nominee instead of the HOH. Mickey had won the veto and was going to save himself. Knowing that Cliff was going to have to name a replacement nominee and not wanting to use her power so early, Christy had a conversation with Cliff where she divulged information about her power, offering Cliff a 2-week protection plan and promising to use the power to benefit Cliff however it may fit if he nominated Isabella, a current house target, instead of Christy or one of her alliance members. Cliff eventually obliged and named Isabella as the replacement nominee, sending her home later on in the week, letting Christy keep her panic power. In this situation, Christy beautifully demonstrated how to use information about a secret power to not only keep herself and her allies safe, but to preserve her power for future rounds.
If you were willing to backdoor Bella and me not use my power, I, for the next 2 weeks, would use my power to benefit you however it may be.
By a vote of 8 to 2, Bella, you are evicted from the Big Brother house.
With this frame of thought taken into consideration, it would appear that telling only a select few people may be better than both telling everybody or telling nobody. However, the decision to only tell a select few people presents the greatest problem that can corrode the once strong foundation of a power holder's position in the house's social dynamics: leaks. By telling only a select few people instead of telling everybody or nobody, you are taking a huge gamble that the people you tell won't tell other people. That, in and of itself, introduces the aspect of human error I briefly mentioned earlier. Sometimes the people you choose to tell this information to aren't as trustworthy as they may initially seem. Whether it's because the person is a lot more irrational and erratic in their approach to the game, they don't actually trust you, or they simply just have a really big mouth and don't know how to keep a secret, there's no guarantee that the people you tell will keep your secret power a secret for long. Hell, Big Brother itself is literally an environment that rewards snakes in the grass, so trusting anybody with such valuable information in a house built on the foundation of mistrust is a massive risk. With all this information in mind, what do I think is the best decision? Personally, I think it's best to tell either absolutely nobody or only one person. The more people you tell, the more you are increasing the chance of your secret power leaking and people not trusting you because you didn't directly tell them yourself. So, in my opinion, it's best to either tell one person and lock them in as a final 2, or tell absolutely nobody and keep it completely hidden from the rest of the house.
I'm not telling you anything right now. Bailey has the power. Hers is the nominations. I did not tell you. My lips are sealed. Don't repeat this. Just leave this room. Bailey has the power.
Now that we've explored the mindset of a houseguest who has a secret power, there's one other perspective I wanted to try looking into. What if someone came up to you and they told you about their secret power? What should you do? While the stakes may not be as high as the secret power holder themselves, the stakes are high nonetheless. We're once again presented with the same options: tell or don't tell. However, in this circumstance, timing matters more than anything. People are often inclined to believe the first source of information as the most trustworthy and reliable because they were the first to gather and spread the information the fastest. It's the same reasoning as to why so many news outlets want to be the first one to report on any given story. It boosts their credibility for the long term. The same philosophy applies to Big Brother. If you are the first person to spread news about the whereabouts of a secret power, that builds trust with others as you are demonstrating how willing you are to divulge information for the benefit of your perceivable allies. Unfortunately, this also comes with a risk, as the player or players who you choose to tell could easily spread this information to other players, and if word gets back to the secret power holder, they could very easily pinpoint you as the source of the leak and use their power to jeopardize your game. This sentiment alone is what could deter players away from wanting to initially leak this information.
I think Sari told Jared. That's the only way it's really adding up for me, so I don't know if I can fully trust Sari when it comes to working together.
However, if the secret power holder tells you and another player about their secret power and the other player leaks this information to the rest of the house first, then the rest of the house is going to view you as a shady figure because you are seemingly unwilling to share this information. This is going to cause other players to believe that you don't trust them enough, meaning they can't trust you moving forward, putting a target on your back. This contrasting sentiment could encourage players to leak the information first to gain that initial trust boost.
Sari not telling me she played in Path to Power is understandable. I didn't tell her. But why the hell is she telling Matt? Who the hell is Matt to Sari? Clearly, I'm not her number 1, 2, 3. Maybe I'm her 4. I'm starting to realize that I am not in as good a position as I thought.
However, we once again have to recognize another caveat. A unique issue is presented in this circumstance. Obviously, we know about the secret power, but besides the holder themselves, we have no idea who else knows about it. This dilemma creates more complexities in the multiple layers of thought, forcing you to take into account a lot more theoretical situations than the secret power holder themselves. If you think you're the only one who knows about the secret power, it would most likely be best to not tell anybody else about it to maintain trust with the power holder. But if you think you're not the only one who is told about the secret power, it's most likely best to be the first one to leak the information. This is why timing is so important, because jumping the gun or sitting on information for too long could cause the target to shift from the power holder themselves to you. I understand this is a lot of information and that there are so many different routes to consider that it could make your head spin, but let me try explaining things in a different manner. I think there's one helpful method to visualize this theoretical spread of information, and it's what I like to call the secret power family tree, or the power tree for short. The best way to demonstrate the power tree is relating it to the current season of Big Brother. On Big Brother 26, Mackenzie and Quinn won the secret powers. Mackenzie won America's veto, which allows her to pull herself or anyone off the block at the veto ceremony, and America would vote for the replacement nominee, which we wouldn't find out until eviction night. Quinn won the deepfake HOH, which allows him to override the HOH and anonymously make all of the nominations for the week. Now, truth be told, I didn't make a power tree from Mackenzie and how she handled America's veto because she was taking the self-preservative route. The path explaining how nearly everybody in the house learned about her power in such a short period of time is so convoluted that it simply wouldn't be able to demonstrate my point concisely enough. So let's use the power tree to demonstrate how Quinn handled the deepfake HOH. Quinn chose to fall closer to the tell nobody side of the spectrum, opting to tell only 2 people about his power, Angela and Chemo. Quinn then pissed off Angela sometime in the future, which caused Angela to leak this information to Kenny and Tucker. However, neither Kenny nor Tucker believed Angela because of everything she had done the prior week to create chaos and mistrust. It wasn't until Tucker went to Chemo and asked about this information to where Chemo confirmed Quinn had the secret power. With this newfound confirmation and knowledge, Tucker then leaks this information to Cam, Cedric, and Joseph and creates a new alliance called the Ball Handlers with himself, Kenny, Cam, and Cedric to target Quinn and flush his power out of the game. As you can see, this is how crazy and convoluted the power tree can become. All it takes is for the power holder to tell one wrong person to blow up their entire game. In this scenario, if Quinn doesn't tell Chemo about his power, Tucker has nobody to confirm Angela's rumors, meaning he most likely doesn't believe Quinn has the power, meaning he never leaks his information to Cam, Cedric, and Joseph, the Ball Handlers are never formed, and Tucker is no longer targeting Quinn.
Like my dog back home, I'm gonna sniff it out of her, you know? Gotcha.
Let's look at the different levels of the power tree to further explain some of my prior points about the theoretical spread of information. If you are at the top level as a secret power holder, or Quinn in this instance, I believe it is the most optimal choice to only tell one person if you were to tell anyone at all. This is because if the information leaks and word gets back to you, you have a singular person to pinpoint as the source of the leak. It's much more straightforward and it makes it easier to determine who you should target. Now let's look from the perspective of someone on the second level, someone who was told the information by the secret power holder themselves. Or Angela for the sake of this example. Because we don't know who else Quinn told about the secret power, we are forced to make a choice to operate under the assumption that we are either the only person Quinn told about it or one of the numerous people Quinn told. If we want to garner trust with a larger majority of the house or paint a target on Quinn's back, we can leak this information to people, causing them to trust us because we told them this confidential information. Obviously, it doesn't work in the real life example because Angela absolutely demolished her credibility, but the sentiment still stands. Finally, let's look from the perspective of someone on the third level, someone who was told this information through a second-hand source, or Tucker in this instance. This is probably the most interesting position to be in because you are not directly linked to the source, meaning you will most likely not be on the receiving end of any immediate consequences. If you are in this position, you have an interesting choice of either going down a level to continue spreading this information to other people who didn't already know, or you could go up a level to confirm this information with someone else who was directly told by the secret power holder or the secret power holder themselves. In the real life comparison, Tucker does both of these things as he goes up a level to Chemo to confirm this information with him before going down a level to spread this information with Joseph, Cam, and Cedric. The only issue with this approach that makes it so difficult is the fact that you don't exactly know who is at what level, meaning it's difficult to figure out who you can ask to confirm the validity of the power. Nevertheless, these are the complexities in the multiple layers of thought I was referring to earlier. Recognizing where you fall in the power tree and what is the most optimal move to make based on your current position. It is very complicated and can get very convoluted at points, but this is Big Brother and nobody ever said this long-standing social strategy game was going to be easy.
I haven't forgot about Quinn's upgrade power, but Quinn and I are not talking. I see Tucker being in a lot of people's ears, so I am hoping this will get back to Quinn. So if he wants to keep his upgrade power a secret, they better find a way to keep me in this house.
At the end of the day, secret powers can be a blessing or a curse depending on your perspective. The burden of knowledge can weigh heavily on people's minds, but it's up to the individual to find the inner strength to carry themselves forward. With all of the information presented, I can't confidently say there is a correct choice. While I certainly have my thoughts and opinions on which choices appear to be the most optimal, I'm speaking from an outsider's perspective and my opinions could completely change if I was in a different position inside the Big Brother house. All I can do is give my commentary on the complex game theory of how to handle secret powers in Big Brother. But those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you have any of those, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
Access granted.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! America, you love me! You really do! You love me!
Sorry, you are the least trending house guest.
Are you serious? Oh my god!